The moment my husband tossed my gift onto the table like it was worthless, something inside me snapped. "What is this, Sarah?" He sneered, gesturing at the scrapbook I'd poured my heart into for weeks. "Some sappy pile of photos. You're pathetic." My hands tightened in my lap, but I held my ground. "My name's Sarah Bennett, I'm 32. And I'd spent years trying to make my marriage to Ryan work, believing love meant enduring his constant criticism. That scrapbook was my last attempt to remind him of us, our wedding, our road trips, our dreams. But as he stood there, mocking me, I realized he'd never valued me. His betrayal was about to cost him more than he could imagine, and I was done. Being his doormat, I took a shaky breath, my voice steady despite the sting. "I thought you'd like something meaningful, Ryan. It's our story, everything we've built together." He rolled his eyes, pacing the living room of our Seattle home, the city lights glinting through the window. "Our story? I'm sick of your emotional nonsense. You could have gotten me something useful, but no, you waste time on this garbage. It's embarrassing." I swallowed hard, his words cutting deeper than I wanted to admit. "Ryan, he cut me off, his voice sharp. "You don't get it, do you? This isn't working. You aren't working. I need someone who brings something to the table, not this pathetic attempt at sentiment." My stomach twisted. "What are you saying?" He smirked, crossing his arms. "I'm done, Sarah. I'm leaving you. I've met someone, Leela. She's 22, vibrant, fun. Everything you're not." His words hit like a freight train, but I refused to crumble. "And you think this is how you tell me?" I asked, my voice trembling but firm. "After I poured my heart into this." He laughed, cold and cruel. "Your heart's the problem. You're all feelings, no substance. I deserve better." For a moment, I sat there, his words echoing in my head. Then, something unexpected happened. I laughed. Not a bitter laugh, but a real one, loud and free. It startled him, his eyes narrowing. "What's so funny?" I stood, still chuckling, and picked up the scrapbook. "You have no idea what you're throwing away." I flipped to the back, pulling out a folded document tucked in the final page. Holding it up, I said, "This is the deed to a lakefront cabin I bought for us. I was going to surprise you tonight. Guess Lila won't be enjoying it, will she?" His jaw dropped, his smugness evaporating. You bought a cabin?" I slipped the deed into my purse, smiling. "Looks like it's mine now." Ryan's face twisted with panic. "You bought a house? Since when do you make decisions like that?" I tilted my head, my voice calm. "Since I realized I can't rely on you for anything that matters. While you were chasing fun with a 22-year-old, I was planning a future for us. My mistake for thinking you wanted the same." He stammered, his confidence crumbling. "You're overreacting. This doesn't change anything." "Lila and I cut him off, my voice firm. "Take Lila, take your vibrant life and get out of mine. You've made it clear where I stand." I walked to our bedroom, his protests trailing behind me like a fading echo. As I packed an overnight bag, I glanced at the photos on the dresser, our wedding, a hike in the Cascades, moments I'd clung to. They felt like artifacts from a life I'd outgrown. Ryan paced the living room, muttering about how I'd regret this, but I tuned him out. By the time I returned, he stood by the door, trying to look composed. "You're really leaving?" he asked, incredulous. "I am," I said, brushing past him. "This is ridiculous, Sarah," he snapped. "You're being petty." I paused, at the door, turning back. "Maybe, but I'd rather be petty than stay in a marriage where I'm just a joke to you." I stepped outside, the cool Seattle night wrapping around me. As I drove away, the deed safe in my purse, I felt a weight lift. I wasn't just leaving Ryan. I was leaving the version of myself who'd begged for his approval. He could have his fling. I was done playing the devoted wife in his selfish story. Drove to my best friend Mia's apartment, knowing she'd understand without judgment. When she opened the door, her eyes narrowed. What did he do now? I sighed, stepping inside. "Can we talk in the kitchen?" Minutes later, we sat at her small table, a glass of Pinot Noir in front of me. "Spill," she said, leaning back. I told her everything: the scrapbook, Ryan's cruelty, his affair with Leela, the cabin. By the time I mentioned the deed, her mouth was agape. "He called you pathetic after you bought a cabin for him," she said, her voice rising. "And then admitted he's leaving for some kid." "Sarah, are you kidding me?" I shook my head, swirling my wine. "That's Ryan. Always so sure I'd just take it. Mia grinned, her anger giving way to pride. But you didn't. You walked out. Kept the cabin. Holy crap. Sarah, you're a badass. Her words sparked something in me. I hadn't just left Ryan. I'd reclaimed my power. What now? Mia asked. I sighed, the weight of the question settling. I don't know. I've been so focused on making us work. I'm not sure who I am without him. She reached across, squeezing my hand. You'll figure it out. Step by step. Stay here tonight. No arguments. I smiled, grateful. Thanks, Mia. That night, on Mia's couch, exhaustion hit, but beneath it was relief. Ryan was no longer my burden. For years, I'd twisted myself into knots to please him, and now I was free. I didn't know what came next, but the possibilities felt thrilling. The next morning, my phone buzzed relentlessly at missed calls, 17 texts, all from Ryan. Where are you? We need to talk. You're being childish, Sarah. I laughed, the irony rich. He'd walked out on me, yet here he was, acting betrayed. Mia shuffled in, coffee in hand. Let me guess, I held up the phone. He's spiraling. She smirked, setting the coffee down. Good, he's not used to consequences, but he's getting them now. Later that day, a new text from Ryan caught my eye. I'm coming by the house tonight. We need to sort this out. The audacity. He still thought he had a claim to my house. I considered responding, telling him to stay away, but Mia's advice from the night before echoed. Let him stew. I ignored the text and spent the day with Mia, running errands and rediscovering parts of myself I'd neglected. By evening, when I returned home, Ryan's car was in the driveway. I parked on the street, steeling myself. He was pacing the living room when I walked in, his face a mix of anger and desperation. You finally showed up, he said, his voice sharp. Live here, I replied, setting my purse down. What are you doing here? His tone softened, a calculated shift. We need to talk. This has gotten out of hand. I crossed my arms, leaning against the counter. What's out of hand, Ryan? Me standing up for myself. Or you realizing, Lila isn't the upgrade you thought. His jaw clenched, but he sat on the couch, running a hand through his hair. I messed up. Okay. I wasn't thinking. We can fix this. I laughed, the sound bitter. Fix this. This isn't a cracked plate, Ryan. This is years of you dismissing me, taking me for granted, and expecting me to smile through it. You don't get to decide we're okay now. Sarah, please, he started, but I cut him off. No. You made your choice. Live with it. I grabbed my bag and headed upstairs, leaving him stunned. The next day, I packed his belongings, left them by the door, and called a locksmith. When Ryan returned that evening, still smug, I met him on the porch, a folder in hand. What's this? He asked, eyeing the papers. Your stuff, I said, pointing to the suitcase. And, this is my lawyer's contact info. You'll hear from her soon. His face hardened, but he couldn't resist a final jab. You're pathetic, Sarah. You'll fall apart without me. I smiled, unfazed. We'll see. Now get off my property. He stared, his confidence faltering, then grabbed his suitcase and left. Over the next 2 weeks, the house felt lighter, like it could breathe again. I dove into work, reconnected with friends, and leaned on Mia, who was ecstatic. Good riddance, she said when I told her I'd kicked Ryan out. He was dragging you down. You're free now. She was right, but late at night, doubts crept in. Had I been too hasty? Would I regret this? Those thoughts faded when Ryan called, his voice tight. Sarah, we need to talk. What do you want? I asked, already weary. It's Lila, he said, bitterness seeping through. She's gone, I smirked. Is that so? He ranted, the words spilling out. She laughed at me, said I was a loser for throwing you away. Said I was an idiot for letting you keep the cabin. I couldn't help grinning. The cabin must have hurt. He ignored my jab. She called me pathetic, said I ruined everything. Then she left. The irony was Delis Rineth, who'd belittled me, now humbled by his own choices. And, you're telling me this because? I asked, my tone cool. I messed up, Sarah. Big time. Can we talk? I shook my head, though he couldn't see. No, Ryan. You made your bed. Lie in it. I hung up, the silence afterward like a victory. That night, with a cup of chamomile tea, I felt peace. Ryan's life was unraveling, but it wasn't my mess anymore. The divorce moved quickly. My lawyer, a sharp woman named Karen, ensured everything was airtight. Sitting in her office, reviewing the final papers, I felt a mix of relief and disbelief. He's got no leverage, Karen said, flipping through the documents. He knows. He can't fight you. I smiled. Guess he's finally figured out I'm not the pushover, he thought. Leaving her office, I felt unburdened. That evening, Mia arrived with wine and her usual flair. To Sarah, she toasted, who kicked Ryan to the curb and took her life back. I laughed, clinking glasses. To Mia, who hasn't said I told you so yet, she grinned. Not yet. We talked late into the night, my future, her adventures, Ryan's downfall. Think he's still crying over Lila? She asked, smirking. Probably, I said, laughing. No wife, no cabin, no fling. I almost feel bad. Almost, she echoed, and we dissolved into laughter. After Mia left, I sat in the quiet, reflecting. The old Sarah, who'd obsessed over Ryan's approval, was gone. I was someone new. Someone who could laugh at his failures and embrace her own strength. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of change, but it was my chaos. I visited the cabin, a cozy retreat nestled by a lake, surrounded by pines. It was mine now, not a shared dream but a symbol of my independence. I spent a weekend there, arranging furniture, savoring the silence. Mia visited the next weekend, awestruck. This place is incredible, she said, spinning in the living room. How'd you keep it secret? I wanted it perfect, I admitted. And part of me worried Ryan would ruin it. She plopped on the couch. It's perfect now, and it's all yours. Her words warmed me. I deserved this, not just the cabin, but the life I was building. Over the months, I rediscovered myself. I picked up painting, capturing the lake's beauty on canvas. I joined a hiking group, relishing the freedom of moving for myself, not to impress anyone. I traveled short trips to places I'd always wanted to see, like Portland's bookstores or Vancouver's markets. Each step was a rebellion against the Sarah I'd been, the one who'd shrunk to fit Ryan's world. One evening, on the cabin's deck with a glass of wine, I reflected on the past. There was no anger, just gratitude for the lessons and the freedom they'd brought. Life settled into a rhythm. The cabin became my sanctuary, a place for solitude or laughter with friends. Mia visited often, her stories a constant delight. You're different now, she said one night by the fire pit, the lake shimmering beyond. How so? I asked, curious. She grinned. Old Sarah was always fussing, worrying about everyone else. This Sarah, she's chill, happy, living for herself. I laughed, sipping my wine. I realized I can't make everyone happy. Trying to please Ryan was like filling a bucket with holes. Never enough. That freedom spilled into work. I started freelancing, something Ryan had scoffed at as unstable. The flexibility was exhilarating. A marketing firm hired me to lead a workshop, and the experience reignited my confidence. Why not start your own business? The CEO asked afterward. The question lingered. Weeks later, with Mia's encouragement, I launched Horizon Consulting. Like the horizon you're chasing, Mia said, eyes sparkling. You're unstoppable. Building Horizon was terrifying but thrilling. Every client, every project, was a reminder of my strength. I was no longer defined by Ryan's doubts or my own. One night, as I worked on the deck, my phone buzzed. A text from Ryan, "Can we talk?" I deleted it without hesitation. Some doors were better left closed. 6 months after leaving him, I stood on the deck, watching the sunset paint the lake in gold and crimson. Horizon was thriving, my schedule full but mine to shape. Mia visited that night, bringing pastries. You know, she said, setting them down. Ryan did you a favor? I laughed, pouring wine. By being a jerk, maybe, if he hadn't, I'd still be stuck pleasing him. She raised her glass. To Ryan, the idiot who set you free. We clinked laughing, but her words sank in. I'd changed, not just by escaping him but by rediscovering myself. Under the stars. I jotted down plans, a new campaign for Horizon, trips to Iceland and Japan, dreams I hadn't dared before. Closing the notebook, I realized I wasn't just free from Ryan. I was free from the doubts that had kept me small. A month later, an email arrived. A conference wanted me to give a keynote on my entrepreneurial journey. I hesitated. Public speaking had always scared me. Ryan's mockery echoing in my mind, but I typed back, I'd be honored. With Mia's coaching, I crafted a raw, honest speech. Tell it like it is, she said. The messy stuff, the wins people, connect to that. At the conference, nerves buzzing, I stepped onto the stage. My name's Sarah, and a year ago, I couldn't imagine being here. I was trapped, trying to please someone who didn't value me. Today, I'm here because I chose myself. The audience leaned in, nodding, some taking notes. I shared Horizon's story, my lows and highs, and felt my voice grow stronger. Afterward, a woman approached, eyes shining. "You inspired me," she said. "Thank you for showing it's never too late to start over." Her words stayed with me, a reminder that my story mattered. That night, on the cabin's deck, I thought about the journey, the heartbreak, the betrayal, the triumph. Ryan was a ghost, his messages ignored, his influence gone. I didn't need his validation, or anyone's. I'd built a life I loved, step by step, and it was only the beginning. The scrapbook, once a symbol of my pain, was now a reminder of my strength. I was writing my story, and every word was mine.